Hey guys, how are you? Can you guys hear me all okay? Awesome. Anyway, my name is Sajady. Sorry, I get a little nervous sometimes. In the beginning. How many people are new to me? Oh, quite a few. Okay. So I'll give you the short version. Basically, I had 2 near-death experiences, and from that, given abilities to help, say, shift people at a very fast pace, I guess you could call it. And it comes from understanding how we are really, say, coded. So, although we're in a spiritual place, I'm not religious or spiritual in any way, although, and I don't teach spirituality or religion, although I help clarify, the religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs. So again, although I'm not spiritual or religious in any way, what happens is that most of you will feel that, or have, say, the best spiritual experience, because spirituality and religion, what it's supposed to do is help you find yourself, help you define yourself, right? So no matter what it is, this is the way, more of a scientific version of how you can find yourself, because that's what you're really looking for. You're not looking for something to pray to, you're not looking for something to do, and all those things that you do, including the topic that I'm going to be talking about, power versus force, is all about finding yourself, who you really are, what your true identity is. Right? Just think about it, no matter what you do. Having a child, making somebody happy, creating great fortune, those are all, say, renditions of you trying to find yourself. Unfortunately, in today's society, though, none of that helps you. And you can see from, because I work with a lot of high-level individuals, millionaires, billionaires, and they're just as messed up as anybody else. Maybe a little bit worse, because they start to, say, magnify the distortion that they have. So we're going to be talking about that. So this is all about you coming into your own grandness. And by the way, I'm not against money, success, or anything like that. I actually help you understand so you can accommodate money or hold on to money without destroying yourself. Okay? So this is about complete 360 degrees of abundance. This is finding your own internal power. Okay? Not about, say, forcing some power outside of you to create that completeness for you, but finding your own internal power. Okay? The best way to do that is not about talking about it, and I'll do a lot of talking, and I open. You can ask questions, and it's an open forum for you. Those people online, just want to make sure that those people online can hear me. Hello? They can hear me? Okay. So yeah. So those people online, you can send in, say, your comments, and we'll take it. And then we'll have a person around the mic, pass around the mic. Okay? So it is an open forum. What I'd like to do is just start with a meta-healing. And a meta-healing this is a sample of what we do, or what I do, like 21 days for 21 minutes every month. And it started out just as a test trial, but I've been doing it for the past, say, 7-8 years. And it's been very successful to help transform individuals. So if you guys want to stand up, or if you can sit down, you can, whichever way. This isn't like Catholic church where you sit down, stand up, sit down. Okay? But, so let's take a deep breath in, noticing where you are, noticing the space around you. Some of you might be feeling a little different. There we go. Some of you might be feeling a little different already as you walked into this space, or as you thought about coming into this space. You might be asking yourself, why am I here? Especially if you're new. You didn't know much about me, but why are you here? Why are you intrigued to be here? Strong deep breath in. Noticing your surroundings. Noticing the lighting. Stained glass windows, so it has a little different ambiance around it. There's overhead lighting. Right? Noticing other details in your present state. Did you notice the ceiling, the floor? It has a tilt to it. Okay? Those are all things that are happening to you in this reality. The importance of that is you notice your spine, as you notice, say, the ceiling, notice the level of the floor, is that as you pay attention to your body compared to your surroundings, you start to become in the present moment. And as you come into the present moment, You start to become aware of your power that you have. So no matter where you are in life, noticing your abdominals, noticing your sternum bone, the bone that connects your ribs together in the front, top to bottom. Noticing, say, what's happening to you. You might wonder why that is. Since we all want the same thing, abundance, just take a deep breath in. Again, strong, nice inhale through the nose, holding it, controlling it. Because if you can't control little things like your breath as you slowly exhale, it's pretty hard to control your life. As we settle in, connecting to the mastermind group. Now, the mastermind group is a consciousness of all of us put together, a higher version in this case. As we settle in, creating or using the strength of the mastermind, because there's always strength and power in numbers, especially when we're going in the same direction. It allows us to, say, disconnect or pull away from the ruts we've fallen into. It allows us to push us through those blocks that we face, those challenges that we can't seem to overcome. Again, noticing the lighting, even if your eyes are closed. The sun's coming in through the back, quite beautiful. Noticing the sounds around you. All the little details to pull you into the present even more. Asking ourselves, well, how do I connect to pure source even stronger? And again, that's nothing religious or spiritual in any way. You're asking yourself, how can I be my best possible self, my purest potential? If you are religious, and I talk about religion and spirituality because many of you are dictated and guided by religion and spirituality. Nothing to do with me, but that's what's stopping you or controlling you. If you are, I'm not here to change your faith or belief system, but I'm here to help you understand your faith and belief system so you get the same results as those icons of the creators of those religions, like a Jesus, a Buddha, Muhammad, or Abraham, or whoever else. Right? As a note, if you're not getting the same results as them, you're doing it wrong. It's just a straight out fact. Okay? It's just like science or physics. So you're helping you bend or come back to how they practice their faith so you get the same results. Noticing your spine. Noticing the space around you again. So why are you feeling so different? Even for those who have a hard time meditating, it's not a trance state. It's not hypnosis. It's basically frequencies that I generate for you that envelop you, whether you're here or online. You can even bring a loved one in that's not here if you'd like, and they'll feel that same difference. Because it's not time-based. It's not space-based. You can give it a try. And it's not here to impress you. I'm not here to impress you with that. I'm just here to help you understand that you have that same power and ability. We just forgot it. Noticing the back of your head, where your spine meets your skull. Just notice that space. Just pay attention to it. And notice your neck. And notice your spine from your mid-back, where your ribs start or connect to your spine. Your mid-back all the way up. And notice how you feel. Feel your aches and pains, other aspects of you changing, shifting, noticing your lower back. You might wonder how that is or how I can help you or do that to you. As you notice your tailbone, and then noticing your spine from top to bottom. Just a quick question, why are you here? Why did you show up? As I scan the group, it's not really about the topic. Some of you changed your plans to be here. You don't even know who I am, what it's all about. So what was the answer? For the most of you, was it just wanted to find myself, be complete? It wasn't even about, say, money or a relationship. It was about finding you. Does that make sense to you guys? So as we take a deep breath in, help you find you. It's always been with you. Noticing your solar plex, space right between your ribs. By the way, for those who are new, as you pay attention to your ribs, the frequencies that you're feeling. Okay, the closest thing is nature. This is just more potent because I can direct it. But if you think about nature, if you think about being in the wilderness, just raw nature outside of, say, man, so not a city park, because it's got human frequencies, do you notice that it pulls you into a present state so strongly you can't get away from it? But it makes you feel good, right? That's why nature is refreshing. Why is that? Not because of the air, all that, although part of it. Because it's in a timeless state. It's in the now moment. It's present. That's what being present is about. It goes way beyond mindfulness. So as I bring you into that state, or actually say force you into that state, just like nature, you start to feel good about yourself. Because that's who you, or what you've always wanted. It allows you to find yourself at a deep level. And as you understand yourself, as you understand your own power, as you, again, focus in on your solar plex, you start to shed away the things that aren't you. All the distortions, all the lack, all the abuse, all the shortcomings. So what is it that you want out of life? We'll just cut to the chase. If you were all-powerful, and let me help you get into that state. Some of you might feel it longer. Some of you might be there for a flash, whichever way. So strong, deep breath in. We'll just count up to 10 every step, sending higher and higher from 0 to 10. Breath in, 0. 1, 2, 3. Do we slow down time? 4. 5. And as a note, it's at hypnosis. 6. Good number of you might feel, say, spacey or expansive. 7. Note why that is. 8. 9. 10. We'll continue on just because of the distractions outside. So if you're distracted by whoever they are, notice the distractions. Pay attention to your body. In life, there's going to be distractions. Successful people use it as a catapult. People who aren't successful, well, they use it as an excuse. So which one are you? So again, notice the distractions. Pay attention to your body. That intensity, the distractions will help define your body, your identity here more. If you don't learn anything else, you take that home with you and apply it, you'll see how fast your life turns around. Notice the sound of the fan compared to your solar plex. Nothing special about the sound of the fan. But notice how it brings you here. So what we'll do is we'll just count up to 10 again. We'll continue on. We'll go from 10 to 20. You can have a seat if you'd like. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 'So think about any problem that you have. From this frame of mind, does it seem more solvable? You have more solutions. Although you might not know what it is, but you're, say, more confident. If you operated from this level, using your internal power, you could solve a lot of your problems. Actually turn them into opportunities. Just noticing the space around you. Just kind of leave you open in this space. Opening your eyes whenever you're ready. Settling in. You can have a seat. How are you guys feeling? Some of you might feel a little spacey. Again, it's different than, say, a meditation, hypnosis, anything like that. Because like nature, it forces you into the present moment so strongly, you get to become aware of, say, the issues that you have. Right? And like nature, some of you get really powerful and enjoy it, and then some of you get uncomfortable because it's like, gosh, I have to face the reality or the distortions of my life so you can get rid of it. Okay? So, anybody have like questions, anything like that? Do you guys feel that? Feel good? Feel different? That's good. Okay. So this is this talk is on power versus force. There's actually a book called Power versus Force. It's actually a pretty good. It's a really good book. I'm going to use bits and pieces of that, but my rendition of what's the difference. So what's the difference between the two? So, and this is from an EI definition. So EI is exponential intelligence. It's the name that I've given this body of knowledge that I tap into. It's not my body of knowledge. I didn't create it. I didn't discover it. It's been around since the beginning of time. It's basically a handbook of how we operate. Okay? So there's certain laws of physics that we operate by. So just like the standard physics, right? Gravity, electromagnetism, everything that you are dictated by. Right? For example, if you jump off a roof, gravity takes over and drops you on the ground. Does that make sense to you? Okay, you can't deny those laws. Right? They're intrinsically inherent in this reality. Okay? At a deeper level, there are other laws that work the exact same way. Okay? So if you abide by those laws, you will have an abundant life. It's just straight out fact. Same thing with, say, the laws of physics. If you don't jump off a roof, gravity will take care of you. Right? So same thing again. So what EI is about is basically me helping you understand what those basic, say, spiritual physics laws are. I don't like to use the word spiritual because it has negative connotations to a lot of people. Some people go, well, no, it has a positive connotation. And I go, no, not really, because spirituality means a lot of binding for a lot of people. Right? You have to do certain things in a certain way. That's not, being free. That's not being complete. And it's not according to, say, the laws. So there's different definitions. So power, what's the difference between power versus force? Force is where you have to, say, push your way, get your way, willpower is force. You have to do something outside of yourself to, say, get something done. Power comes from within. Now, there's power that you can use outside of yourself, right? And people get that confused. But the power that I'm talking about is that internal definition of who you are, and I'll explain how to define that too, and I'll explain how to say hold on to that. So the difference is, for example, making money, running an efficient company, political systems. Most of those situations, trying to find a job, getting a relationship, what we do is use force to push our way through our life. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay? We're always doing something outside of ourselves to, say, run an efficient company. Right? A lot of people use, the claw or the hand, the stern hand, even in being disciplined. Many of you probably got disciplined that way, right? You use straight out power to control your employees, control your loved ones, control your kids, control your country, control the world, right? And that's not real power. That's not completeness. It takes a lot of energy that way. You always have to, say, generate energy to keep that going. For example, and I don't want to get into politics, but it's a great example. The U.S. Spends a little over $1 billion a day in military spending. That's a hell of a lot of money to spend to feel, say, the so-called freedom that we enjoy, and we're not that free. Okay? There are other ways of doing it. Okay? Now that's an extreme version, but look at the way you use, say, force to control your situation. Any situation, you can name it out, and I could read you. You use force to, say, get the spouse that you want. You'll do divisive things to, say, accommodate that person. A lot of women do that. A lot of women are trained to go from their mothers, go, oh, honey, don't worry. You can love that person later. He makes a lot of money. So what do? Right? You force yourself to, say, fall in love with that person. You force yourself to get married, and then it doesn't work out. So it's force in this way. And again, you force yourself to go get an education. You force yourself to look pretty, work out, do whatever for an outside, say, rendition of feeling complete. Power, on the other hand, EI's definition of power is that you understand yourself at such a grand level, okay, and I'll explain how you do that. Okay? You understand yourself at such a grand level that you generate power internally. So it's an ongoing thing. It keeps generating for you. The more you use the power, the more beneficial it's for you, the more beneficial it's for your loved ones, the more beneficial it's for your surrounding areas. This is where, say, men and women of great, say, power, and again, there's a difference. Hitler uses force, okay? But there are great men of power. Can't really think of any. Cyrus. Have you guys heard Cyrus? Cyrus the Great. He was a great Persian king. Right? If you haven't, read up about him, and I'll tell you his story. So individuals like that, okay, had great power, but they kept generating that power, not outside of themselves. They didn't have to spend $1 billion a day. And I'm getting to the bigger concepts, but for example, Cyrus the Great, when they were going through and people were fighting, wars and so on, like conquering different countries, Cyrus didn't have to. He was such a benevolent king that countries would come to him and pay them great sums, worth his weight in gold, basically. They would give to them. It's like, Cyrus, can you take over our country? Because they knew that if they were under his rule, that they would be free to do whatever that they needed to do. He would not oppress anybody to control. He would, say, bring out the best out of those individuals, right? They had true freedom. They were aligned with him. So they paid him. So just imagine if the U.S. was like that. How much more money we could have. So at a personal level, just imagine if you had personal power like that, how much grander your life could be. And you wouldn't have to be, say, expending energy. And by energy, I mean resources. Right? Like physical energy, that's your most powerful, but many think that, say, your money energy, because money is basically another rendition of energy. Money, your time, anything else that we do, just think how much more efficient you would be. How much time do you waste trying to feel good about yourself? How much time do you waste trying to have a positive attitude? And again, I'm not knocking Anthony Robbins down. I love the guy. He's got a lot of good tactics. He's got a lot of good techniques and so on. But he doesn't get to the core level on why, say, people have those issues. He forces you to have, say, a powerful attitude. Okay? It drains the hell out of you. By the way, it drains the hell out of him. He takes 3 to 4 hours a day to stay motivated. For a motivational speaker, that's a hell of a long time. Do you guys have 3 or 4 hours a day to stay motivated? Okay? What I'm talking about is that with that internal power that's within you, you wake up refreshed and you're ready to go. There's no mantras or anything like that. You are naturally, say, bright. You are naturally motivated. You don't have to have those little fridge notes. I am happy. I'm in a good place. I'm this, I'm that. You naturally are. Have you guys ever wondered about that? Why some people, those lucky bastards, they're always like, why are they just so damn happy all the time? Don't they bug you? Because they run just natural frequencies like that. They're just naturally confident like that. You can do the same thing. You don't have to, say, force yourself to be in that space. Okay? So do we understand the difference between power and force? Okay? Power, by the way, is the way I define power, the EI's definition of power, is that, and it's not just physical power over things, okay? Again, like Cyrus, you don't have to control people. People want to be, say, so-called controlled by you, which is real power. People want to, say, have you take over them. Obviously, you wouldn't, right, because it distorts you, but they want to be, say, guided by you in a proper way, right? That allegiance that they have for you is quite amazing. Political leaders, things like that, they don't have to run scams, they don't have to lie to you, they don't have to do anything like that, because the important thing about that is because you get what you need, and not what you think that you need. You get what you need. When you're around somebody who's really powerful like that, the way I'm defining it, you are forced to be your best possible self. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You are literally forced to be your best possible self. So there wouldn't be any whiners or excuses or anything like that. You just wouldn't be. They're not there to support you in any way. They're there to support you, show you the way, but they won't say support you, coddle you. This is about, and many of you are kind of like that, so I'll just call it out the way it is. Many of you go, I just want somebody to love me the way I am. Right? Is that most of you? But then you don't even love yourself the way you are. So why would you, or how could you find somebody else to love you the way you are? Right? So if you had real power, if you hung out with somebody with real power, they would show you all your shortcomings, because that power comes from being present. So a powerful person is a clear reflection of who you are, because they're clear. There's no or very minimal distortions in who they are. That makes sense? They're like nature. You go back to that nature example. You go into, say, middle of the jungle or the raw woods, right? Your weaknesses will show up. You hang out with a powerful person, your weaknesses show up. Now, like that Miss Unstable outside, she thinks that all the stuff that she's yelling about is me, but it's actually all her weaknesses here reflecting back on her. Right? So at a lesser version, I just put that question to you. Do you do the same thing? You might not be out there protesting, but how do you handle your relationships? My spouse, and I get a lot of people go, Moss, can you work on my spouse? I go, yeah, sure, of course. I'll work on your spouse. And obviously, not everybody is, say, matched with each other. That's true. But then what do? It's like I work on them, and then like the next time they come back, it's like, gosh, Moss, my spouse is a lot better. Right? Happens all the time. I worked on tens of thousands of people. It happens all the time like that. Why does that happen? Because everything that happens to you is a frequency that you're resonating. Your environment around you is a reflection of who or how awakened your spirit is. Okay? So let me just say that again. Your spirit, on how awakened your spirit is, because many of you are very spiritual. You spent your whole lifetime. You come from a lineage of spirituality or religion. You think you're really, really good people, and you are. I'm not saying you're not, okay? But you're not using, say, your power the way you should be. And just as, say, a score, look at your surroundings. Are you, say, complete? Are you healthy? Are you vibrant? Do you have fantastic relationships? Or do you have issues that you blame upon other people, your environment, your society, your government, everybody else? And I'm not saying that those are, it's all you, but is there a frequency that you're resonating that's allowing your spouse, your coworkers, your society, your government to control you the way they did? If you were awakened, would your government control you the way you did? They do. Right? Would they sell you all this garbage that they do? Of course not. You wouldn't be buying the foods that are bad for you. You'd know instinctively. Right? That's how powerful being powerful is. Right? And the way I use power, or the way I help you, say, pull into your power, is not like persuasion tactics. It's not sales tactics. It's not motivational tactics, because those are all things you force yourself to feel powerful. Okay? Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. So we talked about examples on, well, let's just rehash examples on how, say, to accomplish the force way. So I don't know why the government comes in, but let's step it down a notch, like, say, making money or creating a relationship. Right? Most of us think that I'm going to push my way through and get successful. There's a lot of motivational books on how to make money. There's a lot of, say, tactics on how to make money. You can go to tons of websites, make whatever in X amount of days and so on like that. Those are all force techniques. They force you to, say, do things to generate income. And yes, does it work? Yes, it does. There's also a book out there, I think it's called The Game or whatever. It's like how to seduce women and stuff. I mean, there's actually a book like that. And it's easy. That stuff is easy. You can generate money, you can get the woman and all that stuff. But the key is, can you maintain it? Can you be happy once you have what you wanted? Most individuals aren't happy with what they have once they have it. Look at your example. Look at your life. Right? You wanted to get, say, married. You wanted to be, that's why people who are single want a partner. And then people who have a partner or have a spouse want to disconnect. Why is that? Right? Because many people think, well, if I have somebody, I'll be happy. But many of you have had several, over and over again, you weren't happy. So why is that? People will go, well, if I had the money, then I'll be happy and complete. But then I work with people, and people, and you yourself have, say, money or at some level success, but then why aren't you so complete? Because those things aren't giving you the power that you're looking for. Those are all outside, say, circumstances of you faking power. So it's basically a fiat source. It's not real power. Okay? And just to prove it, there's millionaires and billionaires. They're on their deathbed. And I spoke to a couple. Not they weren't on their deathbed. They were quite old. And they're going, Moss, what I paid for my success wasn't worth it. Because I lost everything. I lost my family. I lost my health. I lost my youth. Lost whatever. And look, what do I have to show for it? Yeah, I have a lot of money in the bank, but it's not worth anything. That doesn't mean that you're in a better place, by the way. Okay? Again, most individuals, and I talk about that because it affects you, because you think that if you make an X amount of money, you're sinful, or you're not going to be a good person, or you're greedy. Even when I give you that example, you go, yep, that's the way rich people are, didn't you? Right? Isn't that the way you guys, most of you thought? Right? The learned ones obviously are different, right? Because again, if it was true power, that would be a gauge on how awakened you are. Okay? Again, in most religion and in society, it's the opposite. The reason why it's an opposite, because we don't understand, say, the power of money in its right way. Right? We're not complete to hold it. So, why don't we do this? Let's go into a nice, deep meditation again. If you guys want to stand up or sit down, whichever way is good for you. And I'll give you the difference. I'll let you feel the difference yourself. That sound fair to you? Okay? Even if you're new. So let's take a deep breath in. Just noticing where you are, noticing the space around you. And for the first 2 rows, I'll just walk around for you as well. Again, noticing the space around you. Did this just a bit earlier. So it's pretty easy to get you into those deeper states. So note your surroundings. The most dominant factor here is that hum. Pay attention to it as you pay attention to any part of your body. Pay attention to the lighting. Pay attention to my voice. Did you notice that the lighting a little dimmer as the sun sets? Again, start noticing those details in your environment. It keeps you in time with power. Noticing your breath again, connecting to the group dynamics. And we'll bring in the consciousness of say power for you, like real power, exponential intelligence power, the power that comes from within, the power, say, that Jesus would have had, or a Buddha would have had, right? They don't have any titles, they don't have money, but they walk into a room and they're the most powerful person ever. Why is that? Why is your definition of power so different? We have to understand that definition. Again, that's a force you're operating out of. They didn't operate from force. They operated from true power. Their essence was it. They didn't have a title behind their name. Wonderful breath in again. Asking ourselves, how do I connect to pure source even stronger? Basically what you're asking is, how can I connect to that power within me? Straight out. Outside of religion, faith, your concepts of spirituality, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm not saying it's right, it just doesn't matter. There's only one way to connect. It's not my way, by the way. It's just this law of physics. And I'll tell you that one way. Some of you are wondering what that one way is. You notice your spine. Noticing your shoulders. Noticing your chest. And perhaps noticing, say, what's you, so your flesh, your blood, your bones, what creates you, and then your self-image. Many of you are feeling that anyway. That's the difference. Even now, you can tell you're kind of separating your identity from, well, who you really are. You notice the plane overhead. As we get into those deeper states, think of anything that you want. It could be a, Lamborghini, $1 million, whatever. Go big. It doesn't take that much more power to get the huge things compared to the little things. Imagine that you were a little kid. You never limited your dreams. Why start now? So if you had the power, get whatever you wanted. Again, physical. Right? Some of you go, well, I don't want anything physical. I just want to be happy. You've given up on life. I hate to say it that way, but you've given up. You were here to enjoy life. It's not a test. It's not a torture. It's not an experiment. So, I ask you again, when you're a little kid, imagine that you are. What is it that you want? $1 million? Lots of friends? Nice house? Those physical things. Even intelligence. Even, superpowers. Like a Superman or whatever. So noticing the fans, whether you're online, noticing your surroundings, but if you're here, noticing the noise around you, noticing my voice, Noticing where I am compared to the voice, whether it's over the phone, computer, mic. First of all, notice where you created what you wanted. If you don't have it, it's outside of you. It's not in your body. Right? It's not part of you. It's not about anywhere near, say, arm's length around you, above you, below you. To give you an example, right? Think of your phone. Think of anything that you have. A kid, your phone, your pain. Notice where it settles into your body or the space around you. That's why you own it. It's in your sphere of influence. Notice anything that you want. That space in between is why you don't have it. If you can render whatever that you want within you and keep it there, it's like Einstein said, there's no way that it won't fruition for you, come hell or high water. This is where miracles happen. This is where those amazing feats of strength happen, because they internalize it. This is where those mothers whose kids get, say, trapped under cars or whatever, amazing feats of strength, right? But as we go deeper, settling into your hips, your tailbone, your lower segments, the organs within, really pulling you into the physical, just that raw nature of who we are. Some of you even get offended by that. You're in human form. You're very close to animals. You can't get away from it. You need to honor that. We can talk about that if you'd like as well. Coming back to what you want. So imagine that you did it through force. Basically your normal way of getting it. Imagine that you had what you wanted, whatever it is, no matter how crazy it might have been. Through force. Imagine you having it, doing it, being it. As I scan the room, do you notice that it's not as exciting through the frequencies of force? Does it fit you? Does it really, really, really make you happy? Imagine those things that you really, really wanted. Whether a kid, as a grown-up, and then you got it. Sometimes it made you happy, sometimes not so happy, but most of the time not so happy. What was the difference? The way you got it, again, I'm helping you create, say, frequencies of force, of getting what you want. Seems probably very familiar. By the way, if you're a passive type person or an aggressive, passive-aggressive, still using force, just negatively. But that's not the important thing. Your final outcome is you were trying to find yourself. It didn't work. That's why things in the past that you thought would make work, well, it didn't bring you that happiness. Enough of that. Let's take a deep breath in. Open your eyes for a flash and just look at something inanimate, the floor, the ceiling, whatever it might be. Coming back here because you close your eyes, going internal. Noticing your spine. Resetting. There we go. And again, just to help you notice the difference, I'm not planting seeds in you, but did you notice that you feel powerful already? Because I was generating frequencies of power for you, even before I said anything. So notice how that happens. Again, it's not a mind game. I help you change your frequencies. So coming from a state of power. So notice what you want. No matter how absurd it might have been. That's why I wanted you to they have something absurd or, beyond. Do you notice the difference? It fits you. Does that make sense to you guys? It feels good to you, right? It's like a reflection of you. It's an extension of you. It's the same thing. It's the same physical object. Why does it feel so grand? Why does it feel, say, so powerful? So notice that you, say, are around your loved ones through this state. Notice how it enhances your life. Notice how it enhances their life. Notice how it enhances their relationships or your relationships with them. So if you operated from this power with mass, say wealth, luxury items, imagine how it would affect the world. Really emphasize that point. Look how grand you feel. I emphasize that point because many of us here think that if you had, say, luxury items or items of comfort, you're spiritually, say, inept, you're going to go to hell, you're doing something wrong, you're going to tarnish your name. It's got nothing to do with the object. Spirituality, higher awakening, has nothing to do with anything physical. So, as we take a deep breath in, really breathing in that object into you, no matter how far it is, just breathe it in. Okay, so I'll help you with that. So imagine where the object is. Okay? You're comfortable. Imagine where the object is. Notice how you feel. Imagine where the object is, how that object feels. Get as much detail about that object. Turn it around in your mind's eye. Notice yourself in it, around it, whatever, using it. And as you take a deep, strong, deep breath in, just breathe the essence of that object into you so you start resonating with that object. And again, it's not just visualization. On the back end or your source code helping you. Edit your programming. Go ahead, take a deep breath in again, breathing the essence of that object into us. It shouldn't be a person, by the way. As you open your eyes, you're going to have a seat, still work on you. But do you guys notice the difference between the two? Yeah? So the difference is that, again, your purpose was fulfilled. Like I said earlier, anything that you do is all about finding you. Okay, many people go, well, if I get a job, if I go do X, or if I go do Y, I'm going to find who I am. That's not the case. It doesn't work that way. Finding who you are, I'm not going to get into all the details. That's another lecture. It's about your spirit body, which is composed of, say, 99% of your identity. Okay? It's that stuff that we don't even pay attention to. I realized this when I had my first near-death experiences. As I separated from my body, I was in my spirit body, the 99%. The grandness that you felt basically is you operating from your 99%. Okay? The 1% that most of us operate out of, so for those who are doing EI, you're starting to feel that grandness in you. That's what you're feeling. Okay, you're transitioning from the 1% identity of who you think you are into operating for more and more of, say, the 99%, or using your power. Okay, that's the difference. So anything that you do, anything that you, say, go for, no matter what it is, it's not about good or bad. Okay? It's not about right or wrong. It's all about, say, identifying who you are at a higher level. Does that mean that there's good, there's good deeds and bad deeds? Of course there is. But as you ascend higher, and that's another thing between power and versus force, okay, is that as you ascend higher, you naturally are a good person. You don't have to force yourself to be a good person. Most people, I don't want to cut anybody down. Most people think that they're a good person, but they're really not. I just hate to say it that way, right? But look at your people around you. Look at those individuals who are really, really religious. Look how they cut people down, right? You can see, say, how high or ascendant they are. They'd never be prejudiced. They'd never be, say, judgmental about anybody else, because that's force, right? If you were an ascended being, you would never look down upon anybody. You would never have an ego state. So how many people can we cancel off that list? Right? About 98% of humanity. Okay? Look at yourself. Look how judgmental you are, although you're trying to be nice. Okay? And I want to ask you something. If nobody was watching, okay, and you didn't have to pay for what you did, what are some of those things that you would do? if it wasn't against the law to do? If nobody was watching? That's not really being good for being good. You're being good so you don't get punished, whether it's from physical state or a God watching over you. That's not real good. Okay? You're trying to get an outcome. I hate to burst your bubble. Many of you get offended by probably what I say when you go home. You get pissed off by that. The reason why you're so pissed off, it's not because of me. Okay? It's because that's the pattern that you're running. Because you're trying to be a good person. You're trying to do good for your world. But it's not working out well. Look at the people around you. Right? I say this because many of you, say for example, I scan the room and I might be one or two people. Here, it could be a little bit more. Either say a parent or say a child type. You gave all your life to that child, okay? Or vice versa. And then that child hates you. Does that make sense to you? You try to be nice to that child or person, or your spouse, or your company, or a cause, and then it backfired on you. And again, you might have been nice, but it wasn't getting what they wanted. That's why it was for your benefit. I hate to say it that way. It was really for your selfish needs. Okay? And this is where parents get mad. It's like, I did everything for that child, or I did everything for my spouse, but then, look what they left me with. Left me empty-handed. Because you were trying to find your identity of who you were. You weren't trying to really help the child. The child actually understands that, and they regret it. So I'm just saying that because many of you, either parents run that role, or, as a child, ran that role. Okay? So, does anybody have questions? And for those people who are new, if you dare, you can come up and I could read you or scan you if you'd like. It's not a pain. You want to come on? Sure. Do you have a question? Or?
I have an observation.
Okay. Why don't you use the mic and then...
Well, thank you. It's interesting in that I'm using the words that you are, in that I'm looking to get my power back, but I feel like I'm forcing myself.
You are.
To do that.
Yeah. You have
forcing myself to be somebody that I'm not.
Exactly.
But I'm looking to get my power back.
Right. Do you mind if I touch you just a
No.
bit? Okay. So she's like a perfect example. And I'll just touch you on the back here and there. So you guys all heard the question for those people online. So she's looking to get her power back, but then she says she's forcing it. Right? Does that make sense to you? So the reason why is that, and it sounds kind of strange, but when you were a kid, you always hid yourself. Does that make sense to you? And again, I've never met this. I don't know if I've ever met you, but I wouldn't remember you. So anyway, by the way, my abilities for those people who are new, I can just scan you and just read your blueprint on how you, say, run your programming. Okay? It's like if you've ever looked at the source code, if you ever go to, Chrome and then view source code, you see all the background programming. Basically, I see all the background programming. So for you as a kid, you always hid. You always hid your talents. You always hid who you wanted to be. You always had to be somebody else, especially as you aged. It was improper to be a certain way. You had to, say, even dress a certain way or a certain color that you may even hated to wear or whatever, if that makes sense to you.
I always had to dress meticulously.
Okay, so that's what it is. So whatever it is. But anyway, you didn't like it. It was in you. Does that make sense? Although it might have looked nice on you and stuff like that. So even say if it looked nice on her, for example, it wasn't her. Right? Although her parents would be doing, well, I'm doing the best thing for her. But it's not helping her understand her. Because basically what she's doing, and what I'm working on you for, is that little child is hidden deep inside. Like right here, okay? And what are you doing? You're using the same tactics as your mother to, say, force your real self to come out. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. So what did you do with your mother? No matter what she did or what she said to you, you always hid tighter and tighter. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So no matter, say, what you say to yourself, no matter if those tactics are really good for you, if you're using the same pattern as your mother, you're going to just keep burying yourself. That's why you will get frustrated from what I'm seeing. So you're actually farther off than when you started this, say, trek. Does that make sense to you? Because you feel smaller and smaller compared to where you are. So can I help you switch that around?
Sure.
Okay. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath in. And again, other people who might resonate at the same pattern. I don't have to be, say, touching you to help you out. But so noticing that space around you. So, okay, let's start over. Noticing your body. Okay? So for you, or anybody, say noticing when you were a child. And I'll walk you through what you did. So noticing your body, your mother comes around. Do you see your identity just shrink and hide? So, and that's why even today, nobody sees you at work. Nobody acknowledges you. You've got a lot of fantastic ideas. Nobody cares. Does that make sense to you? You go, why the hell did that person take my idea? I just said that damn idea about a month ago, and now they're using it. Somebody else gets the credit for it. Does that make sense to you? Over and over again. Because what you say, it's like, who is that? Because you're talking from here. Your power is like deep inside, hidden somewhere. So it's not just about, say, being yourself or coming into your power. So let's help you, say, expand that. There we go. So that's your real self. How does that feel? So do you feel that power within you? Do you feel, just as a reading, you kind of feel like a little girl again? You know when you're young, do you know how much power you have? Right? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
So imagine operating that youthfulness, that power of being anything, like at work, in your relationships. Like your relationships, do you have one?
Yes.
Are they around? Okay. How's that?
One
Are they here?
wasn't and one is.
No, how are they here?
No, not
Oh, okay, we can talk about them. Good. So, yeah. So they're nice people, but so intimacy and all that isn't there. Because how can you're stuck as a young girl, and now you're having, say, adult conversation. You know what I mean?
I've been working on that, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work out well. Okay. So as you expand into, say, your womanhood, you'll see a lot of changes, like in this area, a lot of physical changes. You'll come back into your, say, feminine identity. That's intimacy and all that gets reconnected for you. Okay? And you feel like a woman. And then you come from a power standpoint. Does that make sense to you? How are you feeling now?
Great.
So let's just lock you in. Does anybody else kind of feel that way as well? Yeah. So even if you try to hide, since I locked you in, you can't hide. Which is really good for you, but then you have to face like people and stuff. But that's how you get your confidence up and just, and it doesn't take long for you.
Amazing. Great. Thank you.
You're so welcome. So she brings up a couple good points. When people say like women, and there was an article of like powerful women, there was like Hillary Clinton on there, Oprah, I don't know, some famous singer. Who else are powerful women out there? Obama, yeah. So I scanned all their faces, and they were all running male frequencies to be powerful. So as a woman, and I work with very powerful women, this woman I know, she makes billion-dollar deals. Now, in the boardroom, she's like, say, a terror, but in the bedroom, she doesn't even know who she is. She doesn't feel anything because she's used male frequencies. Does that make sense? To become a powerful person. It doesn't make her powerful at all. Personal life, she gets abused severely. Right? She doesn't handle personal situations well. Right? So it's a facade. Most women, for whatever reason, use, say, a masculine power place, okay? Or basically force, right? To protect themselves. They use force to create and generate money. They use force to, say, raise their children, people who have been in war, for example, right? The husband never comes home. What do? They shift into, say, the masculine role, right, to provide for their family. I talk about this because many of you come from generations where maybe your grandmother or great-grandmother did that. Your mother adopted a masculine role to raise you. And then that's why the relationships didn't work between, father and mother. And then you look at them and go, my mom's female, but why is she so masculine, right? Why doesn't she feel like a feminine? So that's why that happens. So in the deeper classes, I call this Significant Women series, women actually gain their power without a masculine frequency. Women are very powerful, but if you're using masculine frequencies, you can do, again, the same thing, but it destroys you, it weakens you, because it's not your frequency. It's a masculine frequency. Women are powerful in a very different way. Okay? It's a more subtle way, but just as powerful, even more potent, because it overrides men's frequencies. Men aren't that stable with strong women around, by the way. They need women to generate, say, a solid masculine frequency. Otherwise, they get abrasive, they get abusive. That's why you see a lot of abusiveness in men, right? That huge ego, because they don't have any strong women to calm them into and focus them into their strength. So, okay. Other questions? New people? If you want, are you new? Yeah, do you want to come on up? And then you can ask the question.
Just how do you help yourself find that peace? How do you connect with yourself without getting continuously distracted?
Mm-hmm.
Or how do you find who you really truly are without bringing so many distractions to your life, even when everything outside of you is perfect?
Yeah. So the question was, how do you connect with your power without getting distracted or distorted, or for you, getting into multiple realities? Yeah. You seem to lose track of time. You seem to, say, separate yourself in 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 different realities. Does that make sense to you? Right?
Many different realities you have.
Yeah, 4. Well, you do 4, and then within that 4, do you mind if I touch you?
No,
just
go
quickly?
ahead.
Okay. So, and again, I'm not pushing her or guiding her, but let's just pull her into one reality. So what she's always trying to do is, again, try to find herself outside of herself. How many people have done that? I'm going to go to a retreat out in India. That's a big no. If you're lost and then you go, because the big thing nowadays is, I got to get high, got to go to ayahuasca ceremonies to find myself, because that's a big thing. That's the worst thing you can do. Marijuana is being legalized. You go, well, I'll smoke pot. And again, I'm not anything against hallucinogens, but if you're not coming from a strong source, it's just like a tool. It's just like a power tool. It'll destroy you, okay? So for you, just as I scan you, it seemed like, I don't know, you might have gone and done a lot of ceremonies. I don't see you like hallucinogenics. But what happens is that you get into groups of people, and then you lose yourself. Does that make sense to you?
Kind of.
Huh?
Maybe.
Okay. You go to a party, after a party, you feel sad and not yourself. Does that make sense to you? You go to your mother's house, you feel sad. Oh, come on. You don't even know how you feel today because you have to be, say that you're alone, you'll feel empty. Does that make sense to you?
That does make sense.
Okay. So, sometimes people blank out as I work on. I'm just kidding. So she said that when she's alone, she feels empty. So she's always needing somebody around her to identify who she is, no matter who it is. Okay? She's gone so far to either meditating heavily or connecting to, I don't know, maybe an angel or a spirit guide or whatever. They're not so friendly, by the way. Okay, so be mindful of that. So she goes into other realities, say, to find herself and, well, be complete. So, and that's why she herself said she goes into several realities. I count 4 major ones that she goes into. So, and then every time she goes into that space, and then every time she's around, say, people who are more, say, aware of their space, or maybe assertive or aggressive, right? Or insecure, they'll control her. And she wouldn't even know what happened. So she would probably get into situations that later on go, I don't know how the hell I got into this situation. But when she wakes up, she goes, I got to get out of this type. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. Well, that's why. So anyway, let's close you up. Like in your upper chest right here, I don't know if you have issues, like right here. I don't know if you have issues there. Your grandfather, do they have heart attacks?
He had a heart issue, but not a heart attack.
Okay, well, close. So anyway, there was several minor heart attacks. It might have not registered, but then it just kind of like shut down. So you have that same propensity. I'm not a doctor or anything, but the reason...
You're right. My other grandfather that I never met did have a heart attack.
Okay, so there you go. So anyway, so what happens is that, and again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a medical professional, but the reason why they have heart attacks, you have that propensity, by the way, and you might go, well, it's hereditary. I don't think it's really hereditary, and it could be, but it's not because of the physical hereditary traits that we carry, but basically right here, there's literally a void. That part of you does not exist. So you always have to, say, create energy for you, if that makes sense to you. Does that make sense? So you always have to do something to create energy, otherwise you feel like you're getting sucked out of yourself. Does that make sense to you?
Totally makes sense.
Yeah, so at a higher level, I have you.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you. So at a higher level, so when I see you, I mean, I see your physical form, but have you guys ever seen Star Trek? You know, where they start to vaporize when they, you know, transport themselves? So I see that in you. Okay? And then in her, that upper left, there's a vortex there that just pulls her out of time. Literally pulls her out of different realities. And then, since there's no, say, life energy or that connection, well, in her family, that's what you would call, say, a heart attack. So, I got you. And again, I'm not pushing her down or anything, but what I do, if you're new, is that, and again, I see your body. Your body is a rendition of how your spirit sees itself. Oops, sorry. So your body is around you. I mean, your spirit is around you. Imagine like a projector, okay? It generates a hologram of your body. So your body is, say, the Holy Ghost that they talk about in some religions, okay? It's not really here. So as I shift your spirit level, it's kind of like adjusting the projector. She doesn't know what to do with her body. She can't even control it, okay? So, because it goes beyond, say, your conscious control. And that's why what I do, say, is very effective for people. Let's help your grandfather, too. He's at a very low realm. He's still working away. So in your family too, from what I'm seeing, it's like you really, really, really have to work your ass off to be significant or feel significant and then make more money at it, which is a pattern that you run as well, from what I'm seeing. Is that a good pattern to keep, guys? Working hard, but then not having anything to show for it, and then kind of feeling good that you're going to go to heaven, but then as you age, you go, shit, I'm not going to heaven. I see that all the time. And then it's like you've already gotten on the bus, or actually the plane. You can't get off. You're way too old. But again, how many people run that pattern? So let's help your grandfather. It didn't help him. There we go. He was an angry person. He hated everybody, from what I'm seeing.
Never met him.
Yeah. Was it your mom's side or?
My mom's side, yeah.
Yeah. Well, look at your mom. She's very terse with everybody. So you can have a seat. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See how you feel. I guess I can pick on her. By the way, that's my beautiful daughter in the back. Hi.
Hello. Thank
How are
you.
you?
Good. I'm Patricia. And
Can
sorry,
you speak
I don't
louder,
have-
honey?
Yes.
Okay.
I do not have a very specific question, but I do know that when you were doing the meditation,
Mhm.
so I have my left side of the body, it's always in pain.
Yeah.
And when you were doing the meditation, it triggered,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where it's like a sharp
Yeah.
right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see your brain having issues. Yeah, I can work on that. Do you want me to work on that for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please.
So, so for her, again, she was just saying when we were doing the meditations, she was feeling whatever triggering on her left side of the brain. So again, not a medical doctor or anything like that, but I've helped a ton of people heal, no matter what it is, cancers, heart issues, whatever. I'm not saying I cure you in any way, but just like in anything, even say Western medicine, okay, nobody can cure you, nobody can heal you, not even the best doctors, the best prescription drugs, whatever, if your natural healing ability is not awakened. It's just straight out fact. No shaman can heal you, no healer can heal you, I can't heal you. So what I do best though for you, okay, that helps, say, if you need, say, Western intervention or supplements or anything, is that I awaken your own natural healing abilities. And then you heal. So for you, let's say, start to initiate your brain, okay? This part of you is not really here. I don't know if you've had, let's see, it seems like you had a lot of, say, tension when you were born, or your mother had a heavy pregnancy or hard pregnancy right before. It was almost like you died during birth or right before, if that makes sense to you.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, so as I tap into her, as I scan her, again, what I do is just go back, kind of like reading your code and going, oh, this is where your code got corrupted. Okay? So just think of it, you're a kid or a baby, you don't even know what time is yet because you haven't, say, come into the world, and then you die, or you have that near death. Okay? Half of you, say, separates. Does that make sense? Your spirit body literally like disconnects, or if you don't believe that, your consciousness of your identity, your self-image, right, disconnects, okay, and it separates. So for her, she's like, half of her is alive, half of her thinks that she's dead. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
So the cool thing about that is that you're intuitive, you can kind of read people, you can kind of sense people, because you see from a higher space. Death is literally a higher frequency of physical form. Okay? Yeah, so you see all that. But the problem is you're walking the line of death and life in the same body. So over time, since there's no life force like that other lady, she just had an issue here, your whole left side is literally like transitioning and over. This is where, say, mental instability comes into you, because you start losing, say, track of time, like that's happening for you. Yeah, so. The good thing about it all is that you're very intuitive. You've learned from it. You've, say, mastered it instead of, say, destroyed from it, because people like you would be really mentally unstable or have a handicap. But you've done a great job. So since you're awakened, I can, say, reset your time frame. And because it's a time distortion, most of the time, like by tomorrow, you'll feel like you were reborn again. Not the Christian way, but reborn again. And then later on, I can help you, say, connect to the higher frequencies differently. Okay? And then that's where your abilities come in. There you go. Yeah. And as you awaken, you might have pinpricks in your head. When nerves start to come alive, you'll have pinpricks, pain, stuff like when you sleep on your arm. It comes back to life. It's painful. So it's a good sign that you're coming back to life. Okay, sweetie? There you go. Doing okay? You're probably like testing out your new... It's like learning how to operate your arms. Yes. How do you feel? You okay? So do you guys see that if we were like truly awakened, and this is, what I do is very, say, minimal compared to the powers that we have inside, okay? This is where, this is the beginnings, or we're the pioneers of, this is where you could instantaneously heal yourself, instantaneously, say, change your say, abilities. This is where most of us spend 95% of your time slaving away or prostituting away to have a good job, have a good relationship, have health, all those things. In the future, that's not going to be the case. Okay? It's not going to be a controlled system where the very few that think that they are in power are forcing the rest. You know why that happens, by the way, guys? Another big difference between power versus force is because people in power, okay, that fake power, let's call it fiat power. People who have fiat power, they need more and more and more people to generate energy. It's all about energy and efficiencies of, say, generating energy. So let me explain. A vampire, okay, they need what? Other people's blood, okay? Say the bigger their group, the more blood or energy they need. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay? So look at any cult, they need more people. Look at any, say, country. Look at any, say groups that control the system. They need more and more and more and more people to control. Okay? If you think about it, look at the government systems, or again, the bigger, I don't know why I'm talking about this, but it's coming out, so you guys might be interested in it, is that they have so much power, they could just wipe everybody off and they'll be happy. But it won't do them any good. So they keep you dumb enough, okay? Basically that's what it is. So they can, because you're like batteries. When you're in physical form, you create immense amounts of energy. Huge amounts of energy. So they need that energy to stay alive. Okay? People force themselves. This is where, I don't want to get down that route, but this is where people will give anything to be of fame and fortune. Basically what they're doing, okay, at a lesser level, is that they're selling their energy, basically selling their souls. You've heard of that, right? But I call it a spirit. Selling their spirit to the devil to, say, for exchange. The reason why it's a good deal for your definition of a devil, I don't believe in that. There is a source, though, okay, that's like that. But the reason why it's such a good deal is because any amount of, say, physical luxury, like gold, money, whatever, that's in the world is worth one of you. That's how much value you have. Did you guys know that? You're worth a lot. Okay? If you think about it, like I said before, you're only 1% of who you are. The other 99%, that's what they want. Okay? The other 99% is all-knowing, all-powerful, all-complete. That's a hell of a lot of energy. It creates realms, guys. One of you at an awakened level can create, say, a universe or a realm. That's how much energy you have. That's kind of getting out there. But if you had that energy, your life would be a lot different. If you were at a higher level, just think of what you would do with your time. You wouldn't be slaving or prostituting away. You would be going, well, how much, say, expansive can we be in this human body? Your body is really built very intelligently. It wasn't made for the mundane stuff that we use it. Okay? You would see the potential of your body and the physical things that you can do with it. And you could push those things to the limit. That's why you were here. But again, all those individuals, and that's fake power, it's very like, again, fiat power, they need your energy to pull. Okay? The reason why, and let me just see if this is, well, that's the next topic. Do you guys need a break, or should we just go on? We'll go on? Okay. If you need a break, you can just take one. So I'll talk about that next. But this is from the book Power versus Force, Levels of Consciousness. Okay? And you know what? Instead of just going through it, how about if I guide you into a deep state of meditation, and I'll allow you to feel the frequencies for you? Okay? And that way you can understand where these frequencies, say, are generated from. So again, whether you want to sit or stand, whether you're here in the room or online, let's go ahead and take a deep breath in, just noticing where you are, noticing the space around you, noticing you in your space. Again, noticing the sounds, noises around you, noticing other people, noticing your gut. There's power in this physical realm. Okay? From your spirit comes through the groin area. Okay? Your lower chakras, if you're into chakras, your animal core, which most of society, say, has tried to move away from or separated their identity. Hence, they don't know what a real woman is. They don't know what a real man is. Because you think you're beyond all that. To embrace who you are, you need to embrace your animal side. Strong deep breath in again. So noticing the groin area, noticing the organs within the groin area, noticing the hip, the butt, the tailbone. And as you become aware of the groin area, as you connect to the mastermind group, as you ask yourself, how do I connect to Pure Source even stronger, or how can I be best possible purest self? Notice your groin area, organs within. Right? Pay attention to that. So keep that in the forefront of your mind to help you understand your higher frequencies, because it'll help you understand your body in physical form, which means that you understand your spirit, okay? Or your higher self, which is the power of who you are. Taking a deep breath in again in the groin area. Paying attention to the rest of your body. So start with the groin area and then expand on out. So noticing, the butt, the thighs, back of the thighs, inner thighs, the knees, and then radiating on upward. Your mid-back, your spine, your digestive organs, your solar plex, your chest, your ribs, your shoulders. And expanding on out even more, your toes, ankles, your toes, your feet, tops, bottoms of the feet, and then coming up into the shoulders, noticing your hands, your fingertips, working your way up into your arms, back into the shoulders, the neck, and the head. So another way you can do that is breathe in through the groin area, hold it in the groin area, and as you say exhale, expand on out and breathe out through the rest of your body. Right? Paying attention to, again, the details of your body. 1 second. So we're going to go through these items and the energy levels. That's the key. Right? And this is why you use these emotions or patterns. It's not about the emotions or patterns. It's about the energy that they create for you. And hopefully I can recreate that energy for you. So, and the numbers or the energy level is according to the book Power versus Force. Okay? So energy level, shame is a 20. So let's help you generate frequencies of shame. $20 is the very minimum. So one thing about the book that I don't agree with is that although this is a 20, which is a very low, people who control you can magnify this to a very high energy level for you. So let me give you an example. As you were growing up, this was about half of you, you were shamed into doing things that you, say, didn't want to conform and so on like that. So shame was used to control you. That wasn't a 20. And I'll explain all those nuances later that they don't cover in the book. Okay, we'll just continue on. 30, again, low energy level, guilt. But one of the most insidious patterns that I see in people. Look at religion. Spirituality, presidential speeches, that's not what you can do, what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. This is how political leaders get your sons to go to war, right? Because you're fighting for freedom. So again, although it's 30, very low level, I'll tell you why it's so powerful. 50, come up to apathy. I'll help you generate frequencies of apathy. Again, according to the book, Now, some of you who've been controlled by shame, guilt, apathy might feel it differently. In apathy, do you notice how you kind of feel neutral? Not really wanting to do anything. That's apathy. Feeling sorry for yourself, not wanting to go anywhere. No direction. 75 is grief. Again, low frequency, energy level. But why has it ruined, well, your parents' lives for some of you? Maybe this section. 100 is fear. Now you're getting into some energy frequencies. The reason why fear actually, say, steps in at 100, I see it a lot more. Not because of fear of being homeless, fear of losing your money, your health. It's fear of disconnecting, fear of loss. It's the main reason why people have fear. They'll do anything to stay intact, have a peace of mind. And then again, it all goes back to disconnecting from your 99%. You're afraid of losing yourself. As we step up, desire. So desire supersedes fear and those other emotions. The reason why is because the power of recognizing who you are. You want to find yourself. Basically what that means is you're the 1%, you operate at 1%, you're looking for the 99% of you. Again, an immersion between spirit body and physical form. It's got nothing to do with money, finding a good mate, anything else. So much so that the desire, people get beheaded for it, killed over it. Desire to have money. Anger comes in at 150. It's helping you generate frequencies of anger, whether you experience it or you're the sounding board for that anger, like many of you. That's why many of you run away from anger. $175 is pride. Pride ranks high. Because when there's that, say, knowing, when somebody tries to disconnect you, right? control you at such a deep level. Do you notice that pride kicks in and go, you can do whatever you want with me, I don't care. That's when you're awakened and you realize that you're only 1% in physical form. So you have pride. You won't do some of those things that lose yourself. 200 is courage. $250. This is where a good number of you doing EI coming into neutrality. That's non-judgment. That's where you look at things and you just look at things for what they are. There's no good, bad, although there is good and bad, but you're not going, I'm white, everybody else is not, whatever, I'm better than them. I make more money than so-and-so, I'm better than them. If I'm a specific religion, I'm better or worse than them. You just see things, you see people's behaviors, and you go, oh, they're running that behavior. That's it. So most people, they have issues with that. That's why there's so much strife in the world. If you're under 250, according to this scale, there's always going to be segregation, there's always going to be control, there's always going to be abuse. And the reason why is because you want to have that energy level of being neutral. The key to being neutral is understanding that, well, you are all possibilities, but you choose to be you. The key why you have so many distortions, you're trying to find who you are. Am I a bad person? Am I a good person? Am I good looking? Am I bad looking? Am I healthy, wealthy? And then you accumulate stuff to go, look, I must be a good person. I did this for the person. I did this for the people. I did work my ass off. I made a lot of money. I had this great invention. But why doesn't it feel that great? Because it's facade. It's fiat power. Unfortunately, that's not a good way to get neutral or non-judgmental. 310 is willingness. And again, that gets distorted. So let me give you a pure frequency of willingness, where you're willing to do whatever it takes to understand and find yourself. But if you're trying to find yourself in its purest form, you'd never abuse anybody unless it's necessary to free yourself. That you would never control anybody. You'd never hate upon anybody, because that's not finding yourself. So in its purest form. But many people are willing to, say, sell themselves for fortune, fame, intelligence, to find themselves. It creates the opposite. Acceptance. Acceptance is at 350. Again, that's where you accept the world. Many people are coming through this space where you're from EI, from what you're doing with me. So what you're going through is where you see the darkness of humanity, so you haven't pulled away from it yet. Okay? You see the tortures. You can look at somebody and look at their pain, and you go, why the hell are they running their patterns? It's so obvious that they're running distorted patterns. Well, you used to be that way. The acceptance part comes is that when you separate your consciousness from human consciousness. Remember, you're a rendition. Who you are right now, you're a rendition, a cumulative total of all the things that have happened in human form and what humans have controlled. It's a lot of distortion. So when you start to awaken, and that's again a good number of you that are doing the courses, you're seeing, say, the darkness of humanity, and it's a sad state. But then acceptance is going, wow, basically you've elevated yourself going, okay, that's the way shit happens in this reality. I'm not going to be part of it, right? And that's how you change. 400 is reason and not logic. Because most people think, well, I'm a logical person. But look at the scientists. They use logic, and they're really messed up. Right? And again, nothing against scientists. It's just another form of religion nowadays. There's not really true scientists that really care for the truth. They get sold out. You know, they get bought by companies, institutions. Hey, I need this survey done this way, and I'll pay you X amount of money. Okay? Many people are insecure, scientists, intellectuals, and so on. It's like, well, I need proof before I accept it. That's not real science. Those people who were scientists, they went beyond the norm. They were willing to get killed like Galileo and all those individuals. They were in prison, beheaded, and so on, by bringing out the truth. Not like, show me the proof and then I'll believe it, and then I'll say it to society that, hey, you're right. You know, I put my stamp on it, I'm a scientist. That's just straight out bullshit. But this is reason. You start to see the underlying reason on why stuff happens the way they do. Okay? Just like the few examples, you got to see the underlying reason why they had the issues that they had. And it was nothing due to whatever you thought, whatever they thought they had. Many of you are going through that same experience working with me. 500 is love. And this is real love. So let's take a deep breath in. Let's just take a minute. See if I can bring you, say, that love. And let's bring in that, say, the frequency of Jesus. Well, again, very different from the religion, but just the pure man. Quite beautiful. And I'm bringing that in because many of us, even if we don't believe in religion, we walked away from religion, are controlled by religion because it's so invasive. So if you are of that faith, or any faith, this is the kind of love that you're looking for. If you're not feeling it, you're doing it wrong. You're getting taught wrong. You're not supposed to suffer. Do you notice that there's no suffering in that love? 540 is joy. So once you understand, say, raw love, not conditional love, not if I do X, Y, and Z, I'll be loved, not if I sell myself, I'll be loved, not if I, say, just give up myself and be controlled, I'll be loved, but just pure, just love. And that love only comes from one thing, that connection between your 1% and the 99%. Nothing else. If you don't have that, you won't feel the love that I'm talking about or what you're feeling now. But if you have that, in your relationships, you'll create it. No matter what you do, you'll create it. 540, joy. Again, the joy of feeling that love. And that's true joy of what you're looking for. Many people look for joy. They'll go to spiritual retreats. They'll take drugs. They'll buy whatever, concert tickets, whatever. Feel joy, happy. Again, those are very short term. Although there's nothing wrong with that. If you're in these higher states, they'll benefit you. 600 is peace. This is where you just own yourself. And you just know who you are. Void of any, say, ideologies of humanity. So you're basically a consciousness of your own. So you're starting getting into, see if I can generate that for you. So for most of you, do you guys feel that solidness of just being? That makes sense to you? Just shake your head. Yeah. Okay. Nothing has changed in your environment. Your bank account is the same. Everything else is the same. But why do you feel that solidness? If you can generate that frequency, so notice how that frequency feels to you, because it's all within all of us, that power. Constantly remind yourself of that. If you can stay at that place, your bank account, health, whatever, it'll be quite, say, sufficient. You'll just know it. You'll be in peace. This goes way beyond any level of money or anything they can have. Billionaires don't have this peace. World leaders don't have this peace. But that's real peace. Imagine our leaders or our spouses or our company CEOs ran from this level. As we take a deep breath in. So 600, 700 and beyond, some of you who are kind of far off from it, you might just get a glimpse of it, but it's still within you, but you've got so much garbage on top of you. So see if I can generate those higher frequencies. So 700 or so to 1,000 or more is enlightenment. So notice how that feels. At this level, do you notice that you're not trying to save anybody? It's kind of strange. It's all about you. Seems kind of selfish and very, say, opposite of what we've thought of enlightenment. There's a reason for that. Because when you're within yourself, one, you don't need anybody else around you, although it's beneficial. But when you're enlightened like that, you don't need to save anybody, you don't need to help anybody. But when you say walk in their midst, you're saving people, helping people, You just are. Does that make sense to you? When you're trying to, say, do something to save the planet, save the world, because you're trying to find yourself. That's the only reason it doesn't help as much. I'm not saying it's not a good thing, but I'm just saying to really help, become enlightened, and as you walk, you just change, say, the reality around you. People will gravitate towards you. Because you're a walking copy, a living example of who they know that they are inside. You're not anybody's savior. You're an example, a true living example. As we take a deep breath in, keep you in that space. So most of society live from anywhere from 20 to 150. So shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger. So you really, really have to be pushed and abused to even start to feel pride. A lot of you have many high tolerances. That's why you get abused so drastically, and you won't have the pride to go, you know what, you can kill me, I'll still know who I am. So if you want to say expand the earth, this plane's human condition, you have to jump into 200, 250, 310. The reason why, as I explained earlier, 20, 30, 50, 75, say like shame, it's a 20, very low frequency, but why is it so powerful to control, right? 20s, 30, 50, apathy, grief, fear, which is a mere 100. The reason why it's so powerful for you is because there's a magnifier effect that the book doesn't talk about, okay? Say somebody is angry, their energy level goes to a much higher level. Does that make sense to you? Okay? So you're a 20. Okay? Say, for example, shame or guilt is used to control you. Okay? They ramp their energies up, hence anger, right? So they might ramp up, say, I'll give you numbers, 300, 400. That's why you feel that power when people get angry. Okay? You're at a negative, say you're at a 20 for shame and guilt. They use that frequency to control you. So times, they're at 300, let's say, times 20. So you're at a negative, say, 600. Does that make sense to you guys? That's why shame, guilt, fear is so powerful. So if you're angry, and anger has been used against you, and then you are fear. Okay? So say anger again, 300, 400, they can ramp that up. Fear is at 100, and 300 times 100, what is that, 3,000? 30,000? Yeah, 30,000. That's why fear is so powerful. They don't cover that in the book. So, questions? Yes? How do they ramp that up? Okay. So the question was, how do they ramp that up? And how they do that is that, and it's not real. So what the book is talking about is like pure, okay? Pure uses of this, right? Shame has a pure use. But the way they ramp that up is on the negative side. So say that you were controlled by fear, right? And they ramp that up. Your parents ramped that up. So how you learned was, oh, I feel my parent looks really, really powerful to me. That makes sense to you? You copy their patterns. And you go, wow. And that's why people who say that you've been abused, no matter what it is, those people who abuse other people, you would think it's common sense, like you were abused, you'd never want that to happen to you again, right? But then you abuse your child the same exact way. Why does that happen? Because it allows you to identify who you are, because you're in control, you're in power. Does that make sense? So it's like a negative use of that power. So what happens is that at a frequency level, when I see people, say anger, do you know what a coil is in a car? It amps from, I don't know, like 24 volts to a couple thousand volts, I think, right? It's a coil, it just like wraps up. So they, like the energy, because it is frequencies, at a much deeper level. So they just, it resonates inside them. Okay? And then they explode. So it's like a pressure cooker. Okay? So power, say anger, you use it from an EI or a pure perspective. Okay? This is where those individuals who use anger as a power source, okay, not to control people, but they use anger to pull their identity of who they really are. What they do is that they don't coil like this. They keep expanding into their spirit body. So you'll feel them like expand, like true people. There are very few. You've seen that. The ones that you're feeling that expand are like they're exploding. But anyway, they expand, and then what they do is they direct it towards a single direction. Okay? One of the biggest construction, I think it's from here, Minneapolis, but anyway, one of the biggest construction people, like businesses and so on like that, construction company. You know how he got started? He used anger. Okay? When he was first starting out, he was invited, he wanted some venture capital. He got invited to this guy's home, and the wife walks in, talked to her husband. She looked at him, and he goes, "You're not going to lend money to that scumbag. Look at how he's dressed." And it just made him so angry, he walked away, and that was a propellant for them to create the biggest construction company in the world. Okay. Do you guys know Lamborghini, right? You know how that started. He got angry at Mr. Ferrari. Did you guys know that? So Lamborghini was a farm equipment maker. And what he did was he bought a Lamborghini. He was very successful. And he kept writing to Mr. Ferrari going, "Hey, you should do this to your car. You should do this to your car. You should do this to your car." And Mr. Ferrari goes, "You know what? You make tractor equipment. You stick to making tractor equipment. I'll stick to making cars." He got so angry, he made his own car. That's the name Lamborghini. So those individuals use anger to propel themselves forward, and you can magnify. Successful people or powerful individuals use any of these tools as a directional propellant to take them, say, forward into where they want to go. People that aren't so successful use it to explode or implode. Either way, they don't go anywhere. They either fall to pieces or they cave in. Does that make sense? So, yes.
I would think that would be grit.
Good.
When somebody tells you can't do something, and then it kind of motivates you to.
That's what I said. Yeah, it would be good.
But you know what I mean. So, would you associate grit with anger?
Oh, of course.
And what you're saying, like this?
Yeah, that's what I'm
saying.
saying.
Frequency. Okay.
Yeah. So successful people use negative emotions, and I guess let's just talk about that. So it might be confusing for other people. So the negative emotions. What is it? Jealousy, anger, fear, sloth, whatever. Negative emotions, right? We've been taught that we need to stay away from those negative emotions, come into our happy space, right? Those are bad. We need to stay away from. But did you notice that people in power, or people who want to control you, did you notice that they'll use those negative emotions to control you? They're much more powerful than good emotions like love and so on like that. And the reason why is because, well, if you sprinkle a little jealousy, a negative emotion in love, it just totally destroys that person because we're not at a high level. So actually train you or help you to use your negative emotions in a proper way to direct you out. So for example, if you've been controlled by, say, jealousy and anger and fear, as you work with me, you'll start to use jealousy, anger, and fear to propel you forward because it was a tool that was used successfully to control you. So your spirit will use it to control you. Does that make sense? Okay. So we've got about like 10 minutes. Yes?
So earlier you talked about a masculine and a feminine kind of different ways of power expression. And so now when you talk about anger or some of these other kind of emotions that come up, are there different ways that might express from a feminine standpoint? Or
so are there different ways of expressing
with
anger if you're a female or male?
Yeah, because you talked about it being more subtle.
Yeah, they would use it differently. Well, men use anger to, say, create outside of themselves. Women use anger to cultivate internally. And so women are they're more of a field. They create a fertile field for things to like create and expand. Does that make sense to you? Okay. But women think that, they're out there, they have to push their identity. It doesn't work that way. Women are more seductive, so to speak, in a way. That's why they draw you in. That's what their power is. So they use anger, say, for example, to draw you in. Men would use anger to push out their realities.
And I think that's been the model.
Huh?
There hasn't been many models for women using
No, there hasn't been many
anger in
models
that
for
way,
women
so-
and men. They've lost all their identity. You're right.
So it's easy to shift into a more masculine way,
Right.
and
Exactly.
but we're trying to
because most people
use
think, and I think,
power instead of-
and again, I'm not from theory. I just think that there've been so many wars and there've been so many men lost. There haven't been strong men to be there as a role model. So women had to adapt, right? So, other question?
Just related to that topic, do we need to balance feminine and male energy together to...
Do you what?
Do we need to balance as for women? Do we need to balance the feminine?
Yeah. Do you need to
and,
balance male and female energies?
yes,
Of course.
because it seems like you already talked about this. In today's world, it's more so like to be this powerful.
Yeah, it's all masculine energy.
Yes.
And that's where
So
it
at the
doesn't
same
work.
time, you need the feminine energy. What is the perfect balance for women?
There's no
for
perfect
example?
balance,
Yeah.
but and again, you're not balancing female energies. It's not like a balance. Although you use the same tools. So, say for example, aggression is a male frequency. Does that make sense? But if you're using, it's the same exact tool. It looks the same. It feels the same. But what happens is that when you filter your essence through, say, that energy, right, aggression, it changes, adapts. So if you're a weak, say, female, you would have a masculine energy to it. Does that make sense to you? Because it's more of a dominant type energy. But what happens if you're a strong female, it would still stay female. So for example, if you're a single parent, right? Whether it's a father or mother, say for example, father, right? The mother's not around for whatever reason, right? Most men would turn into a female frequency adopting, say, female roles, which isn't true. There's no female-male roles. But in our society, that's the way it's been conditioned, right? In cultures and so on. So basically, that man turns into a female. It doesn't turn into, say, a male taking care of that baby, changing diapers and all that stuff. They don't do it for a man perspective because they have no identity of themselves. Does that make sense? So it's really not a balance, okay? Although we both have, estrogen and testosterone because we're a bit of each. But again, it's how you, say, see yourself. directing that frequency. Okay? You want me to work on you, it looks like? Okay. I like her. She's assertive. So, is there a question that you want, or do you just want to like disconnect from everything in your life and start new?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
I love this woman. The reason why is like, okay, I'm ready. I know this guy can help me. It's like, I don't care. I'm just going to come up and get what I need, right? And she did it very politely, by the way. Did you see that? That was like real power. Okay? She didn't get aggressive or, I don't want to say assertive, but, aggressive, like, hey, I want this. No. She just stood her ground, very strong. She goes, you know what? I'm really ready to disconnect from everything. And she's at a willingness level. This is like true willingness. And what that is like your spirit says, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And she's going, you know what? I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to be doing it the best way possible. Right? Most people, when their spirit awakens, and they go, you need to do X, Y, and Z. But you go, why? But what about my mom? What is it going to happen to my spouse? What about my kids? What about this? What about that? Doesn't matter. You're not taking care of them the best possible way anyway. Just hate to say it that way. If you're suffering and you're burdening yourself for other people, they're suffering too. You're not doing them a favor. Right? You're really, really not. And that's where you've gotten to that level. You were that person. That's why I bring it up. Right? Always doing things for other people. And then you've awakened, whether you do my work or whatever, something has awakened you the last 4 months, from what I'm saying. You're going, shit, I got to get my shit together. Right? I don't care how it happens, because at a higher level, if she awakens, it's going to affect her family. She's like the manager type of her family, so basically people follow her. Does that make sense to you as well? Yeah. So that's where you want to be. So let's help you disconnect. So as a confirmation that I helped you, like physically, again, because I'm all about the bottom line, right? It's not theory. It's not kind of something that happens when you die, because that's a big, I don't know. I don't want to say anything bad. But anyway, but that's how people do it, right? I'm going to be a good person because I'm going to go to heaven. God, I don't know how you guys got sold on that crap. There's no guarantee, and you guys still believe in it. There's billions of people that do. You walked away from that. That's why I was bringing that out. A lot of say religious, a lot of say good people stuff. So what you're doing is awakening, and then again, the bottom line for you is that you start to throw things out, people out, things like that. People are kind of disconnecting from you anyway. Those people that aren't any good for you, for your new path, they're not going to be with you. So again, as a confirmation, you're going to be cleaning out your house or whatever. I see you moving. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Yeah. So when you're ready, okay, what happened? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So less than 6 months. So when you're ready, because you're going to be, because the way you are is like you're a planner, you want everything perfect before you move into your house. Does that make sense to you? So what you do is like, I want to be, say, complete, and then I'm going to move to my new place as confirmation that I've let go of my old life, walked in new, everything's going to be fresh. Right? Mm-hmm. So I would do the 21 days. If you're not familiar with that, there's cards out there, and that'll really propel you forward. There you go. And you're not going to take any bullshit from anybody. You're going to just call people for what it is. And not in a mean way, but you know how kids tell you, you're good, how are you feeling?
Great, thank you.
Good, you're so welcome. You know how kids tell you the truth? But you know how kids tell you the truth, and they just tell you just from the loving of that's basically, she's going to tell people just from that. And you can't get mad at that, right? Other questions? How much time do we have here? Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, it goes in audio.
It's fascinating, the main topic, that everybody should be more educated about what's our inner power and basically what is not our inner power. And don't get confused and caught up within a little bit of, definitions. Anyhow, it appears in my experiences I've seen powerful people and I've seen non-powerful people. And according to your information, what is your point of view, which is the main factor which prevents the non-powerful people, which I know in their mind, either they think they're powerful or they want to be powerful, but what do you think is preventing them to achieve this frequency that they're pretty much wishing to have?
Oh.
And that's one question. What is your recommendation to go through this obstacle?
Okay.
Thank you.
So just to boil it down, you're asking, so powerful people, what's your recommendation on bringing in true power into them?
What is the main factor which prevents them?
Or why, okay, so what's the main factor that,
And then what is your recommendations to overcome this
okay.
or this factor?
So powerful people, so why do they get powerful and not feel complete? Or not come into their true power? Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm talking about the non-powerful people, which is preventing them to vibrate to a higher level. Because in my experience, I've seen powerful people and I also seen non-powerful people.
Yeah. So in my definition, all of them are non-powerful people. Okay? So you're thinking of powerful people like magnets, business leaders, political leaders and stuff. Those people don't impress me at all. I work with high-level executives, and they just come in with this air. They go, do you know who I am? I did this movie, I did that. And I look at them, I go, no, I don't watch TV. I'm not impressed at all because I see who you are at a deep level. I can scan you. Okay? So let me put it this way. There's a scale, okay? The 1% scale, right? And this is what you're looking for. The 1% scale. So those individuals, say they're at 100% on the 1% scale, right? They think they're all powerful and it does show. They're very popular, they're very, whatever, all those things that we need. At, say, a spirit level, they would be at a 1%, 2% level. Well, maybe a little bit higher because they've got frequencies of success running for them. But again, 3-4%. So most people run at, say, like maybe 5-10%, 20% physical, say, power, okay? And then about 2-4% spirit power. So most average individuals. So that's why it doesn't impress me, because they're still ill. They still have no control of their health. There still has addiction problems. You know, I work with, what do they call them? Like princesses and the royal families and stuff. Those don't impress me. You know, they tell me that they've got these big jets, this, and I'm looking at them, it's like, but where are you at a spirit level? So that's the true power that I'm talking about, okay? The reason why, and I kind of covered this earlier, maybe I glossed over it, the reason why people go for that power, because they think fiat power, is because, and many of you do that, if I get X amount of money, or if I get this spouse, I'm going to be happy. That's what I was telling you all along. It doesn't make you happy. Not at all. That was the whole gist of it. The real reason, again, the reason is that you're not finding yourself. That's fiat. It's something outside of you. Basically, it's a facade of who you are. What I'm talking about is real power, what I call significant success. Okay? Your abundance around you, okay, is a gauge on how enlightened you are. Does that make sense to you? So I just want to say it again. Your abundance around you is a reflection on how awakened you are. If you're not abundant around you, you're not awakened. It just is. Right? No matter how good of a person you are, you might be the best person, but again, you probably get walked on, trampled on, and so on. That's not real power. And that's not a good person, by the way. Just want to bring that out. So the real power, again, is really going inside. When I work on high-level executives, they start to break down, they literally cry, because they look at what they have and they feel worthless. And they might be millionaires or billionaires. There's people at lesser levels. They look at, the success, they look at the decades and decades of what they've worked for, and even people with really good abilities that come from a dark source, they look at them and it's like, holy crap, this is worthless to me. The reason why it's worthless is because they've pushed above the consciousness of what humanity thinks. They're getting into their spirit level, so they see that whatever they've made in their physical world is not worth anything compared to who they really are. Okay? However, once they awaken, they reformat that, and that's where true power comes. And that's where they really clean themselves up, right? They're really powerful. Have you ever seen when somebody walks into a room, people just like look at them and go, wow. And you don't know their title, right? You don't know their power tie that goes down to here, whatever. I think you know what I'm talking about. Right? That's not true power. Those are like persuasion tactics. Because you're insecure on the inside, you need outside tactics, outside sales skills, outside whatever to show that you're in power. Whenever you need to do that, like having your seat higher, your chair higher in negotiations than, say, your prospective client. Have you guys seen all those tactics and stuff? Right? You sit a little higher and you're the person. So those are all things that people do to create, say, that fiat power. It doesn't work that way. If a powerful person is within the room, no matter what they're wearing, they're just powerful. You don't have to have a red tie on to, say, signify or turn on the mechanisms of your brain going, oh, he's powerful. You can play all those games. It might be beneficial for you. But again, true power, when you walk into the room, no matter what you are, what you're wearing, you just walk in and you just own it. And that's what I train. So that's what you're looking for. Okay? Everybody else is not impressive. When I scan your list of powerful people that you have, nothing at all. Yes?
Back to that part Back to that part on using negative emotion to propel you.
Mm-hmm.
How far can that get you before you're just stuck at that 1%? Or where's that transfer point? Or,
that's a good point.
Searching for
That's
99.
a really, really good question. So what happens is that, so his question was using negative emotions to propel you, okay? So let me give you an example. Again, a high-level example. This person, $100 million a year he makes, okay? So his power, and by the way, we're doing this thing called a meta-healing this coming Sunday. It's called Not Good Enough, okay? Might be beneficial for you. So what this person has done, okay, he's using fear, not feeling good enough, because no matter what he did as a child, it was not good enough. So instead of getting destroyed, taking liquor or whatever else to destroy your life, he goes, well, I'll show my dad, right? I'm going to be the best lawyer this world has ever seen. He's one of the best, like, Hollywood lawyers this world has ever seen. People, like, flock to him. It's amazing, $100 million. He's so empty. He has women, all over the place. He's got a gorgeous house, whatever, just empty inside. He feels that he's not good enough. Okay? So negative emotions are the same thing. You get to a point, again, powerful people, the way I define it, is that they use those negative emotions, they use those abuse experiences that they've had, lack, guilt, fear, whatever it is, to propel them, okay? But once they get to a certain level, they get off. And then they use it positively. Does that make sense to you? Okay? Again, the tools, negativity, guilt, fear, pain, anger, they use it as a tool. When that tool is done, they don't use it anymore. Most individuals hold on to whatever garbage that they have. They use it and they keep using that tool over and over again. The tool ran out of batteries a long time ago for many of you guys, right? The blades are dull. It doesn't work anymore. Why are you still holding on? I ask you this because whatever has happened in your childhood, you're operating from, many of you are still operating from that same tool. That might have helped you when you were a kid. It doesn't help you anymore. Other questions or people that, who's ever new that want me to work on them? Are you new? Yeah, I can work on it. If you don't mind me reading you. If you don't mind me reading you, sometimes, we get embarrassed when we're in front of people, like you. Does that make sense?
Good, give that energy off.
Oh, I can just, it's not the energy on it, it's just I can scan you. If there's anything, say, do you have a specific question? Or? Okay. So for her, for example, she always wants to be, say, the best possible self. That makes sense to you? Or do the best thing, or do the right thing. But you know what? That's never good enough. Okay? So in your relationships, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 relationships that you've had? Seems like, yeah. Not serious ones, but I don't see any serious ones, maybe 1.5, 2 serious ones. But those weren't even that serious. So about 4 or 5 relationships. But anyway, does that make sense to you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. She's probably going, how the hell did he know that? Was that an energy I gave up? No, it's like you're coding, okay? Again, I know a lot of things about you that you probably don't even know about, but that's not the point. The point is that no matter what she does, right? No matter, say, how good she is in that relationship, the reason why relationships don't end up well for her, or they're like short-term from what I'm seeing, maybe one long or medium-long type relationship, is because she doesn't feel good enough deep inside. So no matter how good she is, no matter how sensual or whatever she is, connected, and that's another thing, because a lot of women do that, right? It doesn't help. You just lose yourself even more. It just really doesn't help. I know a lot of women have done that to themselves. Again, to keep somebody, it doesn't help. So, anyway, so what happens is that she doesn't feel really good enough about herself. That's her main point. Okay? She's not sure about herself, so she'll adapt to whatever that person wants. But unfortunately, people don't know what they want. Right? The person, say in relationships, for example, she adapts to, well, she reads people really well, unconsciously. She goes, oh, I'll adapt to that person. And it's like they have that connection initially, but most people don't like themselves. And then now she's a direct reflection of what they don't like inside themselves. So the relationship doesn't go anywhere. It just goes like a pong. Do you guys remember that pong? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It doesn't go up either. Even like sexual encounters, stuff like that. It's like, wow, that was it. That kind of deal. Because again, she's a direct reflection. So it doesn't work well. So it's really nice to have your own identity, right? And even when you're coming up on stage, you're kind of reading me to reflect who I am, but you can't do that. Because you don't have a consciousness of, say, who I am, because it's not in your, say, it is at a deep, deep, deep level, but that's buried deep inside. So you would do really good by hanging out with people who have better skills than you, or people who are confident, even if they were corrupt or anything, because you filter out the corruptness. That's another thing, guys. By the way, you can learn anything from anybody, okay? Miss, what do I call her? Unstable, that yells out, I'm a student of Hitler. You know where she got that from? Okay? So I was on a radio interview, and they said, well, it's like, we're talking, and I talked about Hitler. And I go, wouldn't it be cool to have abilities like Hitler and turn it around for mass good? Right? How did Hitler infuse that many people? How did Hitler get people to do insane things that they would never do? Right? What if you use that power in a different way? So you have that ability to literally learn from anybody, good or bad, and turn it into good. Because you always see the good in people. And that's your natural intent. You're so good, you're so, say, pure, pure-hearted, right? But people who you connect with just look at you and you go, oh, she's not good enough. And then, well, that's what happens. Your mother never felt good enough, by the way. Well, your father, I don't know if he was ever around from what I'm seeing, but he was never around even if he was physically here. So, anyway, getting rid of all that for you. Does that make sense for you, hon? Mm-hmm. And again, you're really ready to, say, change. So for you, for example, you'll get angry in people, your mom or whoever, your boyfriends, that have, say, used you, which is a good thing because it's not about them. Basically, she'll get angry and she'll go, I'm never going to let that happen to me again. I'm not going to say suck up to anybody. I'm not going to change my identity for anybody. This is what I am. This is who they get. They don't like it. They can, well, go somewhere else. Does that make sense to you? And you don't have to do that anyway. Look at you. Okay? Anybody else? Other questions?
I'd like to get rid.
Okay. Any questions that you want?
Can you use a mic? I don't know. Okay.
No questions?
I guess I'm
1, 2,
just
3,
trying
4.
to.
You have a lot of death in your family. And you try to escape. Yeah. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll just let you do your thing.
So when I see her, and again, you're probably going, why can't I ever evolve? Or basically, it's like a big cycle for you, if that makes sense. You kind of go up the ladder, and then all of a sudden, it's like something happens here, and then it's like you start going downwards.
Yeah.
And then it's a big cycle.
I'm trying to break that cycle. I want to get out of the cycle. I want to start new.
1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. You've tried like 3, 4 times? 5 times almost?
A lot.
Yeah, five solid times. So again, in business, if you have that cycle, no matter, say, what you do in business, you'll never, ever succeed. Right? But then the good thing is it's an easy fix for you. So when I first said death is around you, because you tend to help people who have crossed over. So there's, in your family, you hold on to death. When people die, you always say talk about, not you, but people around you. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense to you? Because the reason why people talk about dead people, it's not because you miss them or anything, although that's what you think about, because they're just hanging out with you. They're having Christmas dinner with you just like they did when they were alive. They didn't move on. They're literally like right there next to you. So you've got 3 people that hang out with you pretty much all the time. So, and it's like this area, and then people's burdens, that makes sense to you? You'll feel it in this area, because this is not you. You've actually allocated, you're like an apartment. You're like, if you thought of a house, you split yourself in 2. This side's for you, and this side is for tenants that just randomly walk in. So, does that make sense to you? That's why you don't feel like yourself. You don't feel like your real identity. You kind of lose yourself. Does that make sense? Yep. If you walked into a hospital, you'd walk away with 2, 3, 4 friends that are on the other side. If you had a surgery, this happens a lot, by the way, okay? And you can read up on it. People have surgeries, they go under, they come out, they have a different personality. Their loved ones go, hey, you're not the same person that went under. People go, oh, it's the anesthesia they use. It's not. There's a dead person that's awakened enough, and there's a lot of people like that. They're on the other side. They see a hollow body. It's like, hey, I'm in. And they take over. You can read up on it. Okay? They don't go, dead people possess me. In surgeries, it's like, look up like different personalities that people get. This is the same thing as transplants, organ transplants, right? That person who got the donated organ, they start having dream states. dreams, experiences of that person that they got the organ from. So you're kind of like that without. Did you have a blood transfusion, by the way?
No.
Did somebody, your mother? Bet they did.
No, not that I
Are you
know.
sure?
Yeah, I am pretty sure.
You better check.
I better check.
Yeah.
Okay.
So somebody seems like, or it could be your father, no, your mother. Hmm? Yes. Is she still around? Okay. I think she lost some blood before she had you, probably. So if you ask her. So think of it this way. You have a blood transfusion. That's a huge organ, if you think about it, right? I don't know how many pints you have. But anyway, it's the biggest, literally, organ next, even bigger than your skin, if you think about it. It has an identity because it's closer to water, right? It's very, very close to, say, the makeup of seawater, right? So what happens is that holds on to somebody's identity. If you have a blood transfusion that's not purified, you would get somebody's, so you have the propensity is basically adopting other people's frequencies just by hanging out with them. Does that make sense?
It does. It's just,
Think about it.
I know I am. You're freaking me out.
I'm just telling you what you've been doing all of your life, since you were especially at the age of 3, from what I'm saying. So the neat thing about it all is that you can communicate to other realms. You can, say, pick up ideas, concepts, but you can do it from a different perspective. You can, say, look at people in a magazine or in real life or whatever and go, so, but you hold on to people's garbage. But if you filter it out, and I can show you how to do that, you go, what's that thread, a frequency that makes them successful? Like, you wouldn't want to be a complete Donald Trump, but there's a frequency in there that makes them successful, right? Mm-hmm. So that'd be kind of a cool frequency. So if you studied him, because he's in the news, you would pull out that one frequency, and then this area would resonate like him, and that's a good, not like him, but that success frequency. Mm-hmm. And then that's how you would learn to, say, propel yourself forward. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it's a cool ability to have. Many of you have really, really nice abilities, but you use it for the wrong, very distorted purpose. So what I was doing for you is, one, pulling you back all into this, because nobody should house you. You're not accommodating anybody. By the way, you'll have more dead people hang out with you because you're brighter and they want help from you. You'll have, so in physical rendition, you're going to have people just randomly walk up to you for no reason.
Is that good or bad?
Well, it's good if you, say, keep your own space.
Okay.
Because you're bright now, they just want help from you.
I have a lot of people that do that.
Yeah, they're doing it because they can, basically what they're doing is like, here, take my garbage. Okay? So they're going to come more to you because you're brighter and you're still closing off. So let's just talk about confirmation of deletion. I can change patterns for you, edit patterns, but you have to confirm those deletions. So what that means is when people come and want help from you, you'll actually feel them, their frequencies kind of like bump into you. Because before they would just like penetrate you, but now they just bump into you. And then, so now it's like here, and then they go, it's more of a knock. It's like, hey, can I come in? And you go, no, but I can help you. That make sense? Mm-hmm. Yes. So, and then that cycle of, because if you're running patterns of death, you can never ascend and have abundance. Mm-hmm. Anything that you hold, like relationships, dies. Yeah. Abundance, you can't hold, right? Yeah, mm-hmm. Exactly. And again, you're quick. You get it. You just, boom. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't understand at a physical level, I know that you get it. There you go. Very nice. You're so welcome. All right, guys. Thanks for coming out, guys. Hope that messed you up enough to understand, get confused, so you can start thinking about life and start thinking about how things work, rather than just taking the status quo, rather, learning about how things work, not just, again, taking it for what it is and just believing in it. So you probably, hopefully, as you're going through life, even the mundane stuff, brushing your teeth, combing your hair, whatever it might be, ask, where did you get that pattern? Did you create it, or did you just copy it from somebody else? Does that make sense? If you like it, then hold on to it. If you don't, change it. Does that make sense to you? If you can change it at the smaller, say, levels, you can change it at the grander scale, like on how you see your relationships and so on like that. And that's how you really reclaim your power, your internal power. All right, guys? Again, thanks for being here. Again, thanks for hosting us here. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.